Let me see if I can find Rachel. Let's see. I know I'm early, but testing this out so I can see. I'm early. I'm looking for my girl Rachel. Where you at? Because I really don't know. Oh, there you go. Because I was about to say, I really don't know how to bring people in. Hey, hey. Rachel, I think if you have suffered a stroke, please pray for me. Indeed, I'll pray for you. Shoot me a DM, please, also, so I can have your information. Shoot me a DM. The one he married. Shoot me your DM, please. Saying hi so I can have your information so I can reach after you after the call. Oh, I think this is how we do it. Did it work? Hey, girl.
All right, I'm on.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Wait, how are you sideways? Am I doing it? Is it my screen?
I mean, I can turn mine
There you
back
go.
up. All right.
All right, great. So I've been wanting to get on the call with you because you had an amazing topic on your last post. Tell me about what the topic was. I kind of mentioned it in the post that I put to let everybody know we're going on to talk about, because the crazy part was so many people had said that before. Hey, have you ever thought about having a discussion about it? Because it's just something we deal with. And basically, for those of you that's getting on, if you have not paid attention, what we're talking about today, we're talking about a few things. But in retrospect, we're talking about how we deal with paralysis or semi-paralysis post-stroke. So whether our face still being twisted or not moving as it was before, and then going into a smile and how we're feeling about our smiles. So Rachel made a great post talking about, she was showing the transition of a few of her smiles, I believe it was, and then you talk about what your post was about.
Well, I had recently graduated, and so I have a whole bunch of photos of me, and I go through all the photos, and 90% of them, I'm like, nope, that's not me, because I can see the left side drooping. Even now, looking at myself in this video call, I can see that the left side of my face is not moving like it used to, or does, like on the right side. So most of the photos to me just look horrible because the left side is drooping. Even though my family says they can't really tell a difference.
Girl, they always can't tell.
Right. You said something on that post that you have the same issue with your photos, and I hadn't never noticed any facial droop on you. I know that you're curating which photos you post, but even when you're talking on calls.
Definitely curating the photos. So I'm always, if somebody else takes the photos, I really don't like people to take photos in their phone because I want them so I can give you back the one that I like, that I think looks the best. Right. So I always tell people, you got a photo of me, let me see it first before you post it. And that's what I was trying to say. It's not about us being vain. It's, I know what my smile used to look like, and I can look at it now and be like, what the hell? And honestly, if I don't try a lot, so it's funny because I have this ridiculous resting bitch face, or I have this big smile. There's no in between. And the reason I do the big smile is because I'm forcing to make sure my left and my right side mouth opens up.
Right. So, if I just smile naturally, it's all the right side now. But I can purposely pull left, and that makes it look like I'm grip.
So dealing with that, how long have you been dealing with that, and how have you been coping with the whole thing of still? I mean, we know what we used to look like, and people on the outside, and if we're, by the grace of God, we both look great, as some people would say, normal, or don't look like we had a stroke.
Right.
How is it like having a conversation with somebody if you're saying, hey, I don't like that photo, and of course they're like, well, especially family, oh, it doesn't look like anything's wrong, that photo is great. How is that being for you? Because you're 3 years post as well, correct?
Yeah, I'm about exactly 3 years post, and only super recently have I recovered to the point where I can make a normal looking smile, mostly from practicing in the mirror. I practice in the mirror what looks normal. It doesn't feel normal to me, but I just practice how it feels to look normal. And recently I've started to see progress with that. And my family has mentioned that they see the progress, so they understand when I look at the photos and say, no, that one's not good. It's funny when I see my friends who didn't really know me very well before the stroke, and I tell them, no, that photo's no good. They, feel obligated to tell me, oh, it's fine, it's fine, it's
Exactly.
fine.
Everybody does that, girl. I tell them all the time. I really not. I appreciate your opinion. I really don't care because it's me and I'm the one that you're.
I know it's not fine.
Oh, I know it's not fine. Yes, it looks fine, but you don't understand what I had to go through to give you that almost perfect smile that you say it is. So if I say I don't like it, I don't like it, and this has nothing to do with us being vague. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it was a great topic because so many people don't like to speak out about it. As far as survivors, they don't like this. So when I made the post, I'll say about 8 people like, yo, this is excellent. People don't understand when I'm trying to tell them, hey, I don't like the way, and it's not, and it's really not, but at the same time, it is some insecurities that we have, being that we went through this, and based off our level of debilitating factors that we still may have, that we're still dealing with the self-consciousness of, hey, do we look funny? Is a person gonna be like, why do they look like this? Or me, I'm gonna always use me as an example. Me, I'm a hand talker and a crazy facial expression person. Like, so a lot of times I don't think about it and I'm talking and I'll make these facial expressions. And I have one of my siblings goes, why do you always make those faces still look like you? She said something crazy like it still look like you're going through your stroke or something. I'm like, oh, what the hell? I had a stroke.
Like,
It was like, so I've always made these facial expressions, but I guess what she was trying to say is, so depending on a time, I may be making one that may be a little more obscene than another. She's pretty much saying I could see your facial droop on your left, versus as her thing was start paying attention when you're talking. As even I'm looking at myself now, start paying attention when you're talking because I'll get excited about something and passion comes out and I might get you this, I might get smaller. Like all these things I do without even paying attention to it. And I even go back and look at videos myself like, what the hell? Why was I making that face? But
right.
at the same time, I really can't control it because I'll get passionate about something, I'll get to talking and really not paying attention that my left side is still not at its greatest unless I force it to be. So we go back and forth. So I like to use myself because I'm confident in myself and I don't mind speaking for other survivors in the sense of this is something that we go through. So our discussion today is talking about what we've been going through and then talk about how we're coping with it and then how our family members and people around us are, it's always giving us the, hey, always giving us the, hey, you're totally fine. Don't even think about it. How
Right.
you gonna look or whatnot. So I'm gonna let you talk because I'll keep going back and forth. let's hear you, Rach. And this is Rachel, guys. If you guys are just jumping on here, this is Rachel, survivor. She's 3 years post-stroke as well.
Hi. I'll say my family, they were there the whole time I was in the hospital. I never once stayed in the hospital. I was there for a month without people there, and they know how hard I've fought to have my face back, and they've seen the progress, and they have no problem telling me, yeah, you're right, that photo is not as good, and wow, this one looks like you. So family gets it, but it's friends that aren't haven't lived the whole experience who feel like they have to say, yeah, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, when I know it's not the same. I read the doctor's notes when we have video calls and they're just slight facial droop. When I'm thinking that I looked fine, I'm like, okay, thank you. Some people say they can't see it, but I know it's still there. Especially something fake like smiling for a picture is different than a conversation where your face is actively involved. Holding, you get the grit teeth.
So I'm trying to think, even with myself now, because I know I'm so prone to make this RBF face, and I'm constantly always thinking about it, to almost give a fake smile. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can try to protrude with my lips to have them both move versus if I'm resting or it's more of if I give a lazy talk, I will not operate with moving 100% on the left side because your body is just lazy. It's unnatural for us to do it as to just, but because, and I guess I'm going to say because I'm always in the camera, I'm always up front, and then and my family is huge, so many people, and when I say my family is huge and have no problem with sharing their opinion on you look crazy as hell. So yeah. I deal with that. So it's the people on the outside that it's like explaining to them. That's why I don't want to take the photos. Or then outsiders, of course, they're going to want to make you feel better. Okay, yeah, you look better, girl. You're talking crazy. But honestly, then that kind of jumps me to my next topic. We're having these issues as stroke survivors. There's a lot of people that have not gone through what we're going through, and what they always say is, okay, you don't like your photo as a stroke survivor because you say something is twisted. I haven't gone through that, and I don't like my photo. So there it goes. So that right there is going to make me jump to the next topic of how are you mentally dealing with that? Because I would say that because one of the survivors hit us with, they had a problem with their face, but then they said because they still deal with that and they're not happy with it, it takes them to the whole mental aspects of it's just overclouded, and he just doesn't know how to deal with that. So because he doesn't know how to deal with it, he uses his expressions and emotions to come out negatively because he's dealing with so much. What's the word I'm looking for? Have any of you had forearm or hand surgery? No,
but I am scheduled to get a vagus nerve stimulator put into my chest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a new device. It was FDA approved in August of 2021. So it's kind of like a pacemaker. It's gonna go right here. It'll have a wire that goes through your vagus nerve, which goes through your brain, and it's supposed to send little electrical impulses that'll help stimulate your hand to like open. And the idea, it doesn't like immediately fix your motor recovery. It just tells your brain like, hey, we need to listen and learn. So I'm scheduled to get that at the very end of June. I'm really excited. I hope it makes a big difference for me.
Oh, hey, we weren't even about to talk about that, but we're going to talk about that. What is that called? Because so many people want to hear about that. I'm going to make sure I repost this part at least.
Okay, yeah. It's a vagus nerve stimulator, VNS. So I'm going to put it in the chat because it's a weird word, vagus.
Vagus nerve, so it goes in like a pacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's he said, what is it called? Vagus nerve stimulator. It goes in like a pacemaker. So it's going to essentially, as what I'm getting for you, as connect somehow to the brain.
Yeah, it's going to have a wire that goes to your vagus nerve, which is a nerve that goes from your brain down to the stomach. So it's going to send little electrical impulses that will go to that nerve, and that will go to your brain, and that'll supposed to help. Okay, Gordon, it's on. He's from my area in Texas.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, I haven't met anyone who's had it for stroke recovery. It's been around for a long time for epilepsy. So we know it's safe. It's just recently got approved for strokes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Hey, I'm glad you said that because I know a lot of people that would be. And actually, as a matter of fact, I seen one of the guys on here. Hey, Jay, I hope you paying attention to that, you said VNS, vagus nerve. Paying attention to that, Jay, so you can Google and do some more information on that to see if that's possibly for you. But I'm gonna be honest, Jay, even though I said it, your hand, Jay, I'm not going to call you out, but I know you're on here because I saw your hand is actually doing quite well. So I'm just going to encourage you to keep pushing because you're making great progress. He's another survivor on here, I see, but I know he's been struggling with getting that hand open, but it's actually doing really well. He's been pushing himself a lot, but he does get frustrated a whole lot. So you got to keep pushing, Jay. So, so it takes me back, Rachel, because we did kind of go around when you talked about the vagus nerve. I'd ask you a question if you wanted to touch base more on like how it has that affected you mentally, or has that been affecting you mentally with dealing with the fact of just going through
the face, like the way that I know that I don't look the way that I used to look. It was really hard at first when I really didn't look like myself. Especially going into a place where no one knows you and no one knows that you've had a stroke. Like you walk into a restaurant and you can't open the door right, and you have to talk to the hostess, and you look wrong. That was super hard at first, and I really pulled a lot of like strength from the other stroke survivors I met in therapy. They'd tell me their stories about going to these different places, and um, it that really, I guess, taught me that it's okay. You can go do that stuff. Maybe you look different, but you can still do it.
I appreciate that. That's one thing I always say when I'm talking about doing, especially in the beginning of mine, especially or when I would record my videos on YouTube. I'll say it was a little weird at first going places, and you would have to explain like, "Hey, I can't open this," but I made it part of my everyday. I'll go up with
Yeah.
friends, people I didn't know, and I'm like, "Hey, guess what? I can't open this." And it's funny because they're looking at you. You're a grown ass woman. What you mean you can't open this bottle, or you may not be able to hold this in your hand? So without me going through the whole story of explaining, I started making it known. We're going somewhere. A lot of times I do go places by myself, and I had to get out of my own head with saying I had a problem with saying it. Like, yes, I may not be able to pick up this, or I may not be able to open up the door. And definitely, even still today, even though I'm fully functioning with everything, me and the cold don't get along. I'm number one to tell people if it's cold outside or anything, I need somebody with me because my whole left side will shut down. A lot of people have reacted as cold helps their left side. Me, I'm the total opposite. Cold,
Yeah.
like when I say shut down, like it's funny because, and I always say it's funny because I really don't pay attention. If somebody's around me, they're quick to be like, "What the hell wrong with your hand?" Or "What did you just do?" Because I won't even notice it. But the cold has shocked my entire left side and it'll shut it down. Like it'll go from moving to I'm thinking about to move and grab something, girl. It'll just be stiff, just stuck here. And
Yeah.
attention to it, but other people around me, and I make everybody around me realize and recognize like this cold, I'm really not messing with the cold because if this will happen or in a situation, y'all know this gonna happen. So don't just look at me crazy because I'm not crazy. Just go ahead and do what needs to be done because it's just not gonna operate.
Yeah. For me, it's better to just tell people, I'm sorry I've had a stroke. I can't, like if I'm at the store trying to pull out my wallet and I'm fighting with how to, open zippers and all that. And, you can tell the clerk's like getting a little bored with you. And I'm sorry I've had a stroke is my out, my way of explaining it. It's not just like I'm an annoying woman.
No, I appreciate that, but guess what? I ain't saying it no more. I mean, if I feel I have to, but I really am not. You just gonna stand there and deal with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, so it's like in the beginning when I was much worse, I would, but now it's just like I still have days that it's like I said, literally cold will shut me down. That I'm doing something, you're gonna stand there and deal with it because I don't feel because me turn around to explain like, sorry, I had a stroke, my hand isn't working right now. That's taking extra time. You're already annoyed with me because I'm not moving as fast as you think I should move it. So right now, I'm gonna say myself, I don't necessarily go into explanation. It's just when I get it done, I get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, I was shopping with my mother, and she's super protective of my recovery. She was watching me fight with my getting my cards out of my wallet, and she's like, "That lady was like pressuring you to go faster." It's like I didn't even notice, Mom. You just have to accept that like those people they're gonna have to wait.
And see, and that's how I feel. They're gonna have to wait because if I look at it as, and I said it on the last time I got on here, how the old saying goes, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. It's like, as a lot of survivors say, well, I don't like people staring at me. So a lot of them will go into seclusion mode because they're not as far as they would want to go. And because that is saying, well, I don't like to go out as I am an adult and then have to worry about somebody staring at me or pointing, which in my head, because I guess I would say I'm a lot stronger now, I want to be like, F them. But at the same time, I totally understand where you're coming from because we got to think about as we are adults, but we went through this stroke and then that took us back to infant mode. It took us back to baby mode, having to relearn how to do these things. So the whole thought process of having to, hey, am I going to explain to them that I had a stroke, or am I just going to go into this seclusion and go into this ball because I am now timid that the fact that somebody is looking at me because I don't look like them or my body is not reacting as they are. Like, I mean, that's harsh to have to deal with is we already have to deal with the fact of having these debilitating factors, but then the outside world looking at us as, why do they look different? Why do they look funny? And I would say, particularly one of the guys on here, he was talking about the situation as he knows he's making progress, but his problem of being the outside world and how they're perceived and how, and it really sucks as we got to think about everybody on the outside. It's already enough for what we're going through. Then we got to think about, hey, I don't want to just try to live normal life because you're, and it actually sucks. Even how I just said that, like I'm always trying to preach to us as survivors, try to figure out how to live life in spite of what we've been through and try to figure out how to cope with our new norm and loving life again. So I can say that, and I'm going to keep constantly saying it because I had to learn how to do that. But that's a hard struggle for a lot of us to figure that out because we're constantly in our head thinking about the outside world and just not feeling good enough to go into the outside world and to be able to portray ourselves as ourselves because we're dealing with so much. And at the same time, with dealing with all these things, we're now also worried about what the outside world is talking about.
Yeah, right. I mean, I was always kind of a pretty socially awkward person, so maybe I already had that like issue to overcome. So that's been something that really discouraged me early on, like just going into a store or a restaurant and feeling like surely everyone sees how my arm's turning in. But the fact is, no one thinks about you as much as you think about yourself.
Yeah, yep, that's so true. So when did you actually start feeling more comfortable with going out in spite of your post, what you were dealing with?
Probably around like 2 years post-stroke. So like around this time in 2021, started feeling more like myself and not thinking about it every time I see people. Even though I can still see it and I know there still is issues, and I still get asked, did you have a stroke, by people who know about strokes. Maybe they have a family member who have had a stroke, which I like. I like that question. That shows me that they understand what I'm going through, even if they.
Great. That's actually great. That will be best for people. If people are on here that have not, it'll be best to ask somebody that versus just pointing or just assuming that we're weird adults walking around with a drop foot or a twisted arm or whatnot. So but I mean, that's a great thing that people actually approach you and say it versus just staring. And it does show they have an understanding and some type of knowledge of it. So it makes you feel better as to be more accepted in that sense.
Yeah, it opens up the conversation of like, yes, I did 3 years ago. And they can talk about their experience with stroke. Like usually it's their parents have had a stroke because most people are not 26 when they have their issue like I was. So let's see.
My leg and arms start tightening up when I get around a large crowd of people or a bunch of people. So that's there's a few names for that, but that's like that overtone for truth. Then someone talk. Yes, that's like that. It's a few names, but one of us are more like overtone. So what happens is, it's your brain has so much going on. It can happen even in your own system. I'm trying to think of an easier way to say this. So if you're if you're working on doing an exercise with your foot, and then you don't pay attention because your focus is so much on your foot, your hand gets curling up.
Yeah.
So that tone, because your brain is overworking, so you're trying to do one thing, but then it causes a reaction for another body part. So that whole thing, when you're out in the crowd, you're kind of nervous because you're worried about the fact that they're looking at you and paying attention to everything you're doing. So you're overthinking, hey, let me figure out how to be as normal as possible so they're not looking at me more, or I don't cause more attention to myself. So it's a natural thing. So it's literally a natural, it's a proven fact that happens to us, but it's not always just in that situation. It's an overreaction to the brain of us trying to focus on one thing and then something else happening.
Right. So, for me, if I'm doing my hair with my right hand, my left arm is going to be up here pulled in. Because I'm sending so many signals over to that right hand, and I'm working away and not giving any signal to the left, and that's going to pull in. And also I've had my therapist tell me if I'm talking to them and I'm talking about something that's upsetting me, like something bad that happened, I get tighter. Everything pulls in, like the stress and emotion gets worse.
So that's excellent. So that's the same that the gentleman, I'm not sure which name, that's the same that he's dealing with. So it's the brain overworking because it's stress, it's excitement and everything going on when he's in a large crowd. Your body begins to react because again, it's your focus is trying to tell you to do this, but you do, because we already lost control of that affected side, our brain doesn't quite know what signal to send it. So it's like, oh, that's the word I'm looking for. So it's like fight or flight. So your body goes into fight or flight. So that fight or flight mode, you're in a large crowd, something tightens up, your body says, hey, I'm getting into this overprotective mode right now. My voice is all over the road when I'm frustrated. And that's another thing. It's the same thing with your voice because you're thinking, we're constantly trying to process. And so what happened is in the midst of our stroke, we've had, I like to explain it to people, we had some rewiring of the brain. So now our brain is trying to learn how to rewire itself back. We may have a thought in our head, and it's funny because I do tell people, especially if I'm at a speaking engagement, I'm talking about something, I get very passionate. I'll say, hey, I might jump around because I'm passionate about this, and then another thought comes to my head. I know what I'm talking about, but I may go from saying this to that because my brain is trying to keep up with my thoughts and protruding the information out. So right there, how you saying your voice is all over the place when you're frustrated because the frustration, I don't know what part of the brain it was, but the frustration takes over your thought process, and then you just lose focus so fast.
It's like I'm horrible at multitasking now, so of course I can't use both arms at the same time. I can't keep my arm straight and use my right arm, so there's no multitasking when it comes to stroke recovery.
That's crazy. So I do tell people with that, like I always use myself, and especially in the beginning of my stroke, I make those videos to show that I'm trying to do something and I've dropped something else a million times because my brain is trying to work too fast, but the rest of my body hasn't caught up with it. So I got better with that, and I'm saying that for you, Rachel, I got better with it because I continued to try it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that I continue to keep doing it, but it's really the more we continue to do it, one day it just picks up. It's like, wow, I remember in the beginning or last year I couldn't multitask and do these things, but it became over time of just constantly doing it and doing it because I'm always like, yo, this really ain't working right now, and I'm just gonna keep on doing it, keep on doing it, keep on doing it until finally I get better at it. It may not be perfect, and that's takes me to another thing I always say. Who says our perfect is perfect? Who says our perfect is correct or not correct? So yeah, we're going to be our biggest judgment of ourselves. So we don't like to smile. We don't like how our body reacts. We don't like the thoughts that come out of our head. But that's also, I'm saying it also a lesson for ourselves, as we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves because we're trying. And the harder we are on ourselves, it can help us out to either push us further to keep pushing more, or it can set us back. You see what I'm saying? Because it just depends on where we're at. If we're constantly keep beating ourselves up instead of what's the word I'm looking? Instead of congratulating, that's not the word I'm looking for. Instead of
progress.
Yes. see, that's what I'm saying. You know where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's like with the smile photos. I see huge progress from where I was. But there's still the one that's the perfect photo, and the rest of them are trash. You know, even though they're huge progress from where they were. I guess I have to give myself the I guess kudos
Yes.
for having ones that are closer, even though they're not perfect.
Oh, he said he broke the bone in his arm from working out 4 hours a day and stretching it for 12 months. That's excellent. And that's what it takes. I mean, it does suck because as a survivor, we have to work so much harder to get small things happening. But I mean, that's the part that a lot of us deal with. Like, yes, I want the progress, but at the same time, we get in the mode of why do I have to work so hard before I have to work so hard and have to do all these things. It sucks, but we just got to keep pushing ourselves because what we want to get from there. My therapist said I fixed that tone. And it's true. He said he fixed his tone by pure will. And that's the truth at the end of the day. Your will.
The only option we have is to will yourself through the recovery. I woke up my arm by doing a lot of planks by like weight bearing on the arm, my left arm. I still have a lot of tone and Tracy, you've inspired me to work out because I've seen how well your hands work when you're talking,
Yeah.
and mine does not. So I'm a little jealous, and I need to start working out
But
like you.
I told you to start calling me more, Ray, so I can force you to start doing it.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll fix that. We'll fix that.
Yeah, well, I've started working out, but my wrist is so weak. It's always, not always, since the stroke, it's been so weak that I couldn't. My first therapy task was hold on to a hula hoop and just roll it back and forth, and that was not happening at that point. So I'm obviously not holding a dumbbell because my wrist is too weak. It just bends, becomes completely bent.
So that's my next thing. So what was your big hobby prior to your stroke?
Well, as far as um athletic stuff,
What's
did
your biggest
but
passion?
hobbies, I mean, I worked all the time. I was an attorney. Um so I was working crazy hours, which is part of why I about died.
Okay.
So the law, I guess, was my hobby. I didn't love it, but that's how it was.
So I'm trying to think. So the reason I'm asking that is I can remember in the beginning when they kept trying to tell me to open my hand. My hand would but for them to open my hand, their therapists, they're doing what the textbooks and everything say. They kept trying to give me this towel, this rag. Hey, open your hand. So they'll do it in my right. Open your hand, pick this up, drop it. And I'm looking at them like my brain ain't registering with that. I just had a stroke, is what y'all just said. So and
Yeah.
I kept trying to say to them, even though I didn't know what I was talking about then, I kept saying, take me to a gym. And they're like, you just had a stroke. You can't go to a gym. I kept saying, I'm telling you, take me to a gym. I don't know. You're telling me my left side is paralyzed, but in my mind, I feel that if I go into the gym, I could work out. So long story short, finally I got a therapist that was like, you know what? Y'all keep talking about her because y'all don't like, because she's not listening to y'all. Let me get her. And the therapist go, they say you think you can work out. I can. She
Yeah.
grabbed the dumbbell and gave it to me. And guess what? My hand went from not opening up to opening up. So the reason I asked you what your passion was before that, my thing was I've been in the gym. I'm a trainer for 20 years plus, a fitness trainer. So I've been in the gym all my life. I'm telling you, take me to the gym because that's my passion. Or think about, say, for instance, as another survivor I know that's a hairdresser. She's like, I've been doing hair for 20 years. Okay, so you may not find a actual human being that'll let you play in their hair right now because you still don't have the correct balance on your hands. So grab a wig down or something and start focusing on that. And because I feel because I already knew my passion was this in fitness, so take me to my area of what my brain automatically it's second nature for me to work out. So
Yeah.
something like that. So I kept portraying that to them. This is my I can't think of the word. This is where I live right here in the gym. So take me into where my body is comfortable, and I guarantee you it's going to work. And sure enough, took me into the gym. They're like, oh shit, she
Yeah.
can move in the gym. So I was saying that for you as Rachel, like, what were your hobbies prior to that? And that's for any survivors on the phone. Like, what were your hobbies prior to it? As figure out a way to get back into something like that and allow your body to start reacting to it
Right.
and see how your body reacts to it.
Well, unfortunately, I was a pretty boring person, so
Oh,
that's why I have
no,
a master's degree.
now, Ray, I'll figure something out. How about cooking? Were you cooking before?
Yeah, I did. And I've gotten some accommodations in the kitchen, like a Swedish cutting board, that have allowed me to go back to cook. Uh,
So, what is your favorite thing you like to cook?
uh, I
Or,
like
or the easiest thing that you would cook prior to your stroke?
prior to my stroke. Easiest, I well, my favorite thing to make was like a sausage apple casserole. It's kind of a fall casserole. That was my favorite thing. Um,
So, the sausage apple casserole, like, are you cutting up the apple? Like, just a simple? Just give me a simple rundown of something that you would do to prepare that.
You cut up the apple and parsnips and carrots and put that all in a casserole dish, and you brown the sausage, like keep it in the links and brown the sausage and put it in the dish and have it. and put that in the oven for like an hour and have it cook together in the juices of the apple. And then make mashed potatoes and make a like bed of mashed potatoes and put all that on top of.
Okay, so thinking about that process that you just ran through in your head, like how easy, so try to think before your stroke, how easy or simple was it for you to make that, or about how long did it take?
It was a thing. It was it's a bigger recipe. It's not a quick little dinner, you know. It was always a bit of a thing. But since the stroke, the issue is always cutting things, you know, because you kind of need two hands to hold something.
Okay.
But that's where the Swedish cutting board has come in. It's got like nails sticking up it, and that you could stab your like carrot that you want to cut into that nail, and it holds it right there and cut.
That's good. So if anybody wants to know what she's talking about, that is the one, the cutting board. You know what I think? As a matter of fact, I do have it in my Amazon Essentials. But the cutting board that has the needles on it, the prongs that you could actually take whatever fruit, vegetable that you're trying to cut and stick it on there, so it's not going to move. So you could take your better hand or your non-affected hand and actually still cut or whatever it is that you need to do with that. So the reason I was asking that, Rachel, is trying to think of something that becomes more natural for you to do.
Yeah.
Have to put so much thought in it to see how your body reacts to it. Like I made a video trying to think a while ago that in the middle of the night, I mean, my left hand does work and I can do it, but I'm still so prone to just use the right. So I did one day that I was like, okay, for a whole 24 hours, I'm not using the right, I'm only using the left. And so I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, didn't turn the lights on. And Lord behold, I didn't think about it. It was just like, hurry up and go to the bathroom. I grabbed the door and opened it with my left hand. So, and that was it again. I was like, wait, I didn't think about that, but I'm always so quick to use my right, like my left hand doesn't work. So that right there triggered a natural thought and a natural reaction because it was like I wasn't overthinking. So, so a lot of times it's to take out, so a lot of times it's to take out the thought process of us overthinking so much. Hey, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? Or telling ourselves not. As something as, it almost goes back to that fight or flight. It works kind of in the same senses, but it triggers a different part of the brain. As how in the fight or flight, we may overreact to something and our affected side may curl up. Fight or flight being that I had to hurry up and get to the bathroom and I took the right hand away. My thought process was boom, and I went right into the left hand and didn't even think about it. And I was able to do everything I needed to do. So you see what I'm saying? As that works, that fight or flight works in the same sense of that, if we constantly start doing things like that to help us get past and really to get outside of our brain of overthinking things that we cannot do.
Right. It's like one of the first days in physical therapy, the therapist told me to hold up my arm and open my hand. And so without thinking about it, I just did that, and my fingers had not been able to open before. It just opened. We're all completely shocked that I was even able to open.
And see, and that's excellent. So that's a great example right there. As without thinking about it, because you didn't think too much, your body just did it, and your brain was like, "Oh, I do know how to do this." But if you have been thinking about it, you've been like, "Yeah, lady, I can't do that." Did you not understand that I was paralyzed? Like my body is not going to do that in that sense. So that's a great thing for us because it works for us in some senses, but at the same time, we overthink a lot of times, and our body does not react.
Right.
So I would just, I don't want to keep people on here too long, but I would just like to say, leave us with the note as for us, stop being so hard on ourselves as survivors. Little progress is better than no progress. Yes, it may not be what we want right then and there. And it's all I'm always going to say, it may not be pretty, it may not be perfect, but guess what? Who's to say what our pretty and our perfect is? Keep trying to keep pushing. You know you're trying your best. You know you're trying your hardest. Block out all the outside negative stuff that people are constantly coming to you with, or how they may be looking at you. Hey, they don't know what you went through. You're still alive and you're doing the best that you can. Yes, we may not like our smiles all the time, Rach, but actually, I'm going to bother you, which I didn't even tell you this. Our next one's going to be talking about that great progress that you had with them heels. But I'm not going to keep them on. I'm not going to keep them on here any longer because that was amazing. But I just really want to keep everybody encouraged. Yes, this is something that we go through. So if you know any survivors, you know anybody dealing with that, don't just stare And they not being vain if they say, I need to take 100 photos to pick one that I like. And me, I don't want you taking the photos in your phone. I'm going to take them in my phone and I'm going to give you the one I like.
Yeah,
Simple.
you gotta let me look through them and throw out.
So yeah, if you want to take a photo with me, don't grab your phone. Be like, here, Tracy, take your phone out because I'm going to take your phone and I'm going to delete them all until I find one that I like. So
Yeah.
love y'all. Love you, Rach. I'm going to text you. Thank you so much for joining in, guys.
All right, thank you.